is James Arnold Taylor, voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Welcome to a more civilized podcast. This is the podcast you're looking for. You may not go about your business. Stay here, listen, and then move along.
Hey there, Star Wars fans. It's Kyler.
And Chris.
And Ross.
And this is not a story the Sane would tell you. I just love that title.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Kyler.
Ross, do your news.
What kind of news?
Ooh, I know.
Chris, what kind of news is it?
It's newsy-news.
It is newsy-news. Oh, I'm not even sorry.
Steven, I will never forgive you for this.
Newsy-news. Oh.
Every time.
There we go.
Yep.
I got a picture of that. I'll
Yep.
share that on Facebook sometime.
All right. So, we have such good news for you guys today. First, and probably the most important bit of news we have for the day, is a bit of a confirmed rumor that we get from the Star Wars International poster. Guys,
The most important detail.
the most important thing in the new movie is that we're getting a Porg.
Woot!
Woohoo!
Porgs are back.
That's
Let me
right.
stab myself in the neck. I'll be right back.
It's probably even the same Porg that we saw in the Falcon at the end of Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, gross.
You know
That
what?
Porg.
He probably needs a name.
Porgal the Lesser.
I approve. You turn that frown upside down.
That's, yes. Whatever that actually ends up being, that's what
That
this
was
podcast
fantastic.
will now here and henceforth forever refer to that Porg as. Which,
Porgal
speaking
the
of things that had names, you know what I found out this week?
What?
The Rancor in Jabba's palace
Had a name?
had a name.
What was it?
Hold on. Wait, let me. It was like Petia or something like that. It started with a P. It would take too long to look up, and I'm
Wow.
a little bit lazy. So
I'm fact check us, Steven.
there's
Yes,
another. There's
Steven.
You
another.
Let
didn't
us
have
know.
a single fact check last episode. We gave you your day off. Now you know.
And Steven,
I'm sure he'll fact check us anyway. But
Yeah, that's
I'll
true.
make it easy for you. You just type Google or you type in Jabba's Rancor into Wikipedia, and it'll come right up. So
I'll actually be really impressed if Steven fact checks us on community details. That would be hilarious.
I don't think
pretty cool.
Steven has seen Community. Since
That's
he
what it would be
didn't-
all the more impressive.
He hasn't seen Parks and Rec or The Office, so I introduced him to
shame.
Parks and Rec like a couple of weeks ago, and now he's binging through it. I'm like, okay, watch that one first because it's not as good as The Office, and then go watch The Office.
I would debate with you there.
Well, the later season of The Office is not great, but like the first. Anyway,
Whatever.
I
we'll save it
personally
for our
prefer
Office
Community to
episode.
either of those.
Oh
but
yeah,
they are more
well,
raunchy.
for sure. Yeah.
Onward and upward. Then we have more Galaxy's Edge news. For you.
Hey,
So first off is your good golly gee whiz, what an awesome thing they're doing news, and the one that our listener Ryan, who's my work buddy, or is my work buddy,
recently did a robot battle episode on Bacon Sale.
which was
Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah,
Hated it.
Data should have won. Clearly, he's smarter than all the rest for sure, and strong.
Data?
Yeah.
Still. Anyway, no. So there was an article that released a few days ago talking about how, in honor of the opening of the Rise of the Resistance ride at Galaxy's Edge, they're actually going to fly X-wings over the park. So there's this whole article detailing how they've made these drones that are actually 1/3 scale X-wings.
They look
And
pretty good.
They look real good, actually.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Hopefully they'll keep that up after that ride is open, because we're going in February. So I'd love to see those. But yeah, it was super interesting thing that the Imagineers are doing with. Apparently they're partnering with Boeing, and they've made these drones, and it's interesting because they have a kind of a wire mesh on the outside of them in the shape of an X-wing, but when it's backlit, it looks like, at least from a distance, it looks like, the solid full color, X-wing would be flying over you. So, wow. I mean, never would expect to have that sort of thing come out of a theme park,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Granted, it is Disney. So,
What is the rest of this headline talking about? Did you read that part? Where it talks about how that is... I'm scrolled past it, so I can't see it now.
the article was also split about how this would affect like war efforts in this sort of technology, but I didn't really pay attention
Well, it's
to
that
that
it
part.
speaks to perception manipulation tactics. That's the part that got me curious.
Right, and that's what they're talking about in the actual theater of war type.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually
Oh,
kind
okay.
of a,
I see. I thought it was like a marketing sort of like. I was
Yeah,
like, it's
I did
so
the
weird.
same thing Chris did.
Yeah. No, then the website is more focused on like military tech stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just.
So I read an article the other day about how Disney weaponizes spoiler culture to encourage people to see its movies as soon as possible and get bigger weekend opening numbers, which they absolutely do.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking this was that sort of thing where it's like this is audience manipulation and perception manipulation, and so I was confused.
Yeah, that's a whole separate issue. And finally, in probably honestly the legit most awesome news, which surprised me, the music for Galaxy's Edge that was written by John Williams and plays in the park has been nominated for a Grammy.
So John Williams gets another notch in his already impressive belt.
Yeah.
How many of you suckers got theme park music nominated for a Grammy?
Yeah.
That's right, bees. Back off.
So,
Yeah.
have they actually
Can't
Drunk
touch
John
this.
Williams, brought to you by Chris.
drunk or just old?
Angry drunk.
Is there a difference?
Apparently, John Williams, according to Chris, is an angry drunk.
Yeah. Have they done an album or anything for the music from the park?
I don't think so.
Because I would be fascinated to actually sit down and
Yeah,
listen to
so
it.
would I.
Absolutely.
But of course, John Williams did it, so I'm not overly surprised. I mean, because
Yeah.
his work is always,
Well,
just
he was
fantastic.
already, I think, the only person to be nominated for a Grammy for writing the music for a sporting event,
Yeah.
be the Olympic fanfare. So
Yep.
that's pretty cool.
Didn't he get 2?
He's just incredible. And if you would like to hear just how incredible John Williams is, we did a whole episode about
26?
him. Yeah, about a year ago. The man is shockingly impressive.
Yes.
In so many ways. So
Episode
go listen to
26, The Music Man. One of our best episodes, I think.
that. Yeah,
Indeed.
fantastic.
So, and that's your newsy news.
Newsy news.
Oh, boy.
Newsiest.
The so newsy.
I will kill both of you in your sleep. So, today we are talking, because we are getting ever closer to episode 9. Mm-hmm. This airs, 2 weeks before?
This will be
it comes
8
out?
days
Something
before
like
we
that?
see
8
it.
days. Oh my goodness. Well, so we have one more episode of this podcast to come out, and then the next day is our party. Our
Yes, sir.
Watch party thing. Or not, well, the watch party happened already, but the go watch it with us live.
The watch party
event.
happens 3 days after this.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
The watch
Oh, yeah,
party
that.
being for Force Awakens and Last Jedi,
Yeah.
Yes.
and then a party of us, as in a group of people,
An
going to
adventuring
see
party.
this going to see Rise of Skywalker at the theater will be
Yep.
in 8 days, assuming you're listening to this on time
Yeah.
and you're not some slacker.
Yeah.
who binges like most of our
I
listeners?
know, right?
Eh.
Okay, so we're talking about dumb fan theories for episode 9.
Well, fan theories in general. I thought we were also going to talk about our predictions for it,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
is that this episode?
I thought
that
so.
was later.
But we don't have a later.
No,
Oh, no,
we'll have
that's
one
right.
more.
Yeah, we have one more, and that's our Last Jedi episode. So,
That's right.
Oh, the Last Jedi.
so this is the one where we're talking
Oh,
about our
we could- you
predictions
have to
for
do
it
it
as
now.
well.
Oh my, I'm not prepared. Well, kind of.
You aren't just constantly walking around with all your expectations and/or theories for Rise of Skywalker in your head.
See,
Rob?
that's how come I enjoy so many things is because no, I don't do that.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about
How
dumb
do you
fan
not do
theories.
that?
And
Like, are you injuring yourself somehow, or like, what's going on here?
I accept that I don't have control over how it goes, and
I don't
prepared,
have control. I can just see the
I am
future.
prepared for whatever they give me.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh, sorry. Yeah, so we're going to talk about dumb fan theories and have fun making fun
Yeah.
of them.
So first, we'll talk about what won't happen in Episode
Yeah,
9.
and then we'll talk about things that we want to see, think we will see, things like that. So, let us commence with this impressive list of things.
Ridiculousness.
Yeah. So, Screen Rant has a theory
Yeah, this one's been going around quite a bit.
that is so stupid, it's hard to believe. Dark Rey has been revealed to be part of the Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker in some capacity, and we think she and the original Rey could be a clone. Oh
Yeah.
My heavens.
We discussed this briefly in another episode where I it's like, for me, the main thing about this is this is someone trying to find a new way for Rey to be important.
Yes.
It's like she can't just be important because, she has the Force and is the protagonist. She has to be related to someone, and if she can't be related to someone, then she has to be a project of the Emperor or someone else that they're cloning these and da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's just like, or she's just Rey no parents.
Yep.
And that's that. Like, and I get the it's people trying to see the significance in this row of Reys from her Force vision on Ahch-To, but it already has meaning, and it's just silly.
Yeah. So here's the article. I'm interested to see what they say after making this point. It's generally believed that Dark Rey is part of a Force vision, which I think is what we...
Absolutely, yeah. I think is the most likely scenario.
The rationale behind this line of thinking is clear, after all. Rey making an actual turn to the dark side would be too last second of a twist to throw into Star Wars Rise of Skywalker at this point. But she could very easily see a possible future of herself where she has turned evil and embraced the dark side.
To be fair, if you had told me prior to me watching Episode 8 that Episode 8 would feature Rey and Kylo becoming buds and then have a falling out over the course of one single movie, I would have said, probably not time for that. So, I mean, theoretically, someone who's really good at storytelling could pull that off, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Anyway, sorry, continue.
So they talk about that for a little bit. For what it's worth, Ridley is teasing that Dark Rey is a legit part of the story as well. This is where our theory comes into play. If it's true, then it could bring answers to some burning questions about Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. E.g., Rey's past and how Palpatine will return and serve as a way for the Skywalker saga on the whole to be tied up. It's theoretically possible that Rey is one of the many clone bodies created as a part of an all-powerful army by Palpatine, which he could then use as a host body down the line. This is one of the absolute worst contrived, convoluted plot lines from the EU ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's so stupid. And yet, I see so many people that are, like, just eating this theory up.
Yeah.
It's shocking. Ugh.
Well, and it's funny, too, because that's, like, because of Kathleen Kennedy's comments a little while ago about not having source material to work from for these, you've had a lot of EU fans just like up in arms like, what? That's absurd. Like, we got the entire extended universe that you could be using. And every time I encounter someone who's just like I talking to a friend the other day who was just like, the old EU was so much better than what they're doing now. And I was just like, dude, have you read any of the old extended universe since you were 13, 14?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, no. And I was like, they don't hold up, man. They're not as good as you remember. They are, like, the amount that they are keeping in the new cinematic universe of Star Wars is the right amount to be keeping, because basically everything else was crap.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's a difference, too, in reading the story for yourself and getting wrapped up in it and hearing about it from other people. So, as we've talked about before, I read, like, the X-Wing series in, like, 8th grade, 9th grade, somewhere in there. But I heard about some of these other stories about, well, no, Palpatine, see, he had a clone, and he escaped in that, like, from other kids that were reading other Star Wars books, and I was just like, that sounds so dumb, man. Like, maybe you're doing a bad job at telling the story. And then, like, I get older and, like, hear about the story, and I'm like, oh, no, they did a really good job explaining it. It's just that the story was dumb. No.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because the whole thing was like, well, Palpatine has used clones before and it's like, sure. So, post-death, he raised a clone army. It's just, no, it's so dumb.
Well, and also I'm looking at this, I'm like from a storytelling perspective, looking at the two movies we have in sequence, this is very much a story about, first and foremost, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. This is about him. This is about Rey. And then to a lesser degree, this is about Finn and Poe and Rose and all the others. But and of course, it's about the original cast, like focusing on Han for the first one and Luke for the second one, and we'll see how they manage with Leia in the third one. But
Probably not as much, because I think they actually...
Oh, yeah, I don't expect her to survive past the beginning of the film.
I think they announced her actual screen time, and it was just a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It's not long.
I didn't expect her to show up past the beginning.
Which is so sad, man. Like,
yeah, what can you do?
No, I know. Yeah. I know there's nothing they can do. It's just one of those things where it's dang it.
It's a tragedy.
Why did that...
Yeah.
Like, not to make light of her death, but it's like, if only you had lived long enough to, like, complete your filming for episode 9, like, at least you could have, like, closed this chapter in a more satisfying way, you know?
Yep. But, yeah, this is a story about the original primary 3 cast members and about Kylo and Rey and a few others. It is not a story about, like, it's just, at least has not so far been a kind of a story about a villain lurking in the shadows who has a clone army that he's been hiding and created this one. Like, that is so schlocky and just so B material. Like, that there's a reason it was in the books that those, in the comics, that those sort of things happened. It's just that there's this weird line that Star Wars is always trying to walk, where it's inspired by old Flash Gordon stuff, like these really pulpy action things, but it also walked a line between being believable and approachable and not too schlocky. That's a very hard line to walk. Obviously, you know, we've discussed the humor and the various difficulties in all these movies. Like, that's a hard thing to walk at all. For a lot of people, it just doesn't feel like Star Wars if you get too schlocky or if you get too much of that. But I'm just like, storytelling-wise, that is veering way into B-pulp movie territory.
But Chris, Ryan Johnson left us a clue that totally proves this theory correct.
With the string of rays?
Yeah, all the rays in the mirror, they're exact copies of Rey because it's a mirror. And that means it's clearly a hint that she's a clone. Yeah. And when she asks to see her family, she sees herself because all the clones are family and it's herself. Yeah. And it clearly proves it, man.
Well, and it's this funny thing that what people, the area where people seem to be trying to force this into is, like, they're trying to make Rey an extension of the original characters instead of her own character. And they're trying to turn Kylo into that instead of just being his own character like he is. Like, and that's not an uncommon thing with sequels, with what the original extended universe did, where it's like, in the original extended universe, when it came to character development, Luke and Leia and Han were basically done at the end of Return of the Jedi. They did not really demonstrably change for 30, 40 years of in-universe stories after that. Like, and even when they did change, like Timothy Zahn in his Hand of Thrawn books, he kind of had this character development where he's like, Luke's force powers have kind of gotten out of hand. We need to nerf this. And so, like, kind of introduced this plot point of Luke being like, oh, maybe I'm using it too much. Maybe I need to restrain how I'm using it because that's kind of dark-sided to be all flashy and stuff. So I'm just going to be more reserved. And it was basically like, here, nerf his powers, and then we can do it. And it's like, so the only character development that Luke got was basically resetting him to an earlier point. Like, and it's just like... And that's really common with expanding from something popular, and when you introduce younger characters and everything that are the children of the original characters in particular, like, they're basically functioning as extensions of the old characters. The old characters don't have to change, but they can be really angsty and pained because of what their children are going through now. And they're trying to help them because they're so wise and perfect, but their children don't know. And so people want... They basically want all character development to stop, but they just want things to happen around these characters. And they also start to get, like, most stories that are super popular and well developed tend to be very character focused and driven. Star Wars is no exception. It has always been a very character focused story. But once you get past the original stories, people tend to start to focus more on the world. Like, I want more of the world, I want more of the aliens, I want more explanation of what's going on in the background. They don't usually really want new characters.
That's a lot where we're at right now,
yeah.
I feel.
So that's part of the problem with the sequel trilogy is you've got a lot of people that, like, they don't want new characters. Even if they think they do, they're just like, well, no, they basically want the new characters to function as extensions of the old ones. And so this is basically a way to go, oh, see, she's just an extension of Palpatine. Cool. He's one of the original characters, and we'll just reset everything back to all that matters. It was what was originally happening, and if new developments don't immediately feed back into something old, then I don't want it.
So yeah, Nega Ray, according to this theory, is the spirit of Palpatine who hopped into one of his Ray clones so that they can have an epic showdown. Good Ray inhabited by a regular clone ghost.
She's obviously a life model decoy.
Yeah, clearly. Oh boy. So that's really the essence of that dumb fan theory.
Well, let's discuss what Nega Ray could be again, though, real quick. I got some new ideas. I'm gonna go with Bizarro Ray has struck Ray R-A-Y has struck Ray R-E-Y, and has created a Bizarro version of her, this Nega Ray. Or alternately, Ray has drunk the Jekyll Hyde serum, and so now she shifts into Nega Ray periodically. What else could we do? I mean, obviously we don't need more than that, but Ray got bit by a Sith, and now under the full moon,
a radioactive Sith.
Yes, a Sith, and now under the full moon, she turns into a Sith.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and of course, then there's my alternate universe theory of this is the mirror dimension. She doesn't have a goatee, so that's a difficulty in that. But
well, it's part of her disguise. She realized that
well,
goatees
also she's
are too
female,
cliche.
so.
Yeah, there's that. So yeah, that's all for that theory, right?
Oh, I could come up with more, I'm sure. Give me a minute. All equally plausible with the clone theory.
Oh boy. So
we're forgetting the obvious evil twin. Separated at birth.
Oh, that's true.
Ray no parents had 2 children, and they sold one to a junker, and they sold one to the disembodied spirit of Palpatine.
Oh boy, this makes me so happy. So Den of Geek put out a list of articles, or a list of fan theories in an article, and I just want to read to you a couple things from some of their opening paragraph because it makes me laugh. What exactly will happen in Episode 9? Here are some of the best and worst fan theories circling the web at the moment. But please let us know, blah, blah, blah. The following might just contain Star Wars Episode 9 spoilers. If this list contains even one Star Wars Episode 9 spoiler, I'll eat a sock. Oh my gosh. Kylo Ren becomes the good guy. We've kind of talked about this before, I think, in the Last Jedi episode. Will there be redemption?
I think it's a strong possibility. It's, in fact, a probability. Like, I would bet...
they were right. There's our spoiler, guys.
I will eat a sock.
Yep.
I would bet that he does get redeemed. I don't want him to, but I have a hard time believing that for Episode 9 we're closing out the series. Now we've decided that we're going to go with the downer tragedy of Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
But awesome. I really hope that if he does take the redemption approach, he does not die, because I hate death by redemption. It's been done way too many times.
Yeah. I
want him to just like, nope, let's face a tribunal for his war crimes and deal with this appropriately.
Den of Geek rates this as unlikely, this theory.
That he gets redeemed?
Yeah.
That he becomes the good guy, which, I mean, I don't know. I think it seems like they're taking more of the perspective of he's a good guy throughout the film and not just he gets redeemed.
And this is funny. Sorry, Ross, go ahead.
No, that was it. That was all.
So this is funny because here's their rationale for it. Unlikely. While The Last Jedi did start Ren down the path to redemption, he still finished the film in a fairly dark place. Yeah, Vader finished Episode 5 in a pretty dark place. Despite Luke trying to redeem him.
Episode 8 very much left him in a position where he could go either way.
I guess Luke didn't try to redeem him. Not
his position at the end of Episode 8 is more akin to Zuko's position at the end of Season 2. Yeah. He has chosen the bad side, but he's still got an entire story remaining where he could renege on that and go back. Or he could stay the course. That's kind of what I do want, but...
Yeah, and it says that the theme of this new trilogy is to blur the lines between good and bad, and so Rey and Kylo both blur, and I'm going, I don't know, really Rey is pretty dang good.
Yeah, that's really not what's happening.
Yeah.
It's to introduce that, grays exist, but it's not about blurring the lines between them. It's still very distinctly drawing lines.
And even, I can't think of anything that Rey really does that is inherently evil, we have Luke saying, "Oh my gosh, you went right to the dark side," but
Yeah,
she
she gets
didn't really
she
do
gets a little
anything.
angrier than we're used to from our good guys when she's fighting. And
Well,
that's
that's the thing.
does she get
She's-
any angrier than Luke?
yeah, when she's fighting and like when she, in that fight in the throne room, she's straight up like screaming at like her
I'll give you
opponents.
that. Yeah.
She just her general bearing when she's fighting is a bit more angry
Yes.
than you usually get from a Jedi.
Bit more Mace Windu.
Sure.
She has a much angrier face than Mace ever uses.
It's kind of adorable though.
It is. But
Like, there's it's been turned into a meme, but it's where she's in the Force in Episode 7. She's pointing the gun at Kylo Ren, and she's got like that little like angry like "Man, I'm gonna shoot you" kind of a face. It's so cute. It's really funny. It's like when a little kid gets angry. Oh man. Yeah, I don't think we'll. Well, I don't know. I could see it going either way at this point, with him being redeemed or
I could see
not.
them doing satisfying conclusions even if he doesn't redeem, but they'd be trickier, and I constantly get hung up on the amount of stuff they seem to be jamming into this movie that I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And we've now officially heard the runtime, by the way. Did you guys see that?
I did.
Yeah, it's
It
like,
comes in just over like episode 3.
yeah,
Just a few minutes
but
longer.
it's not as long as Last Jedi.
Yeah, so it's like, no, I think it was still the longest, but like just
No,
barely.
no, it's not.
Is it
Last
not?
Jedi is officially the longest. It is shorter.
Because I
So
thought
it's
it was
gonna
like,
be like 2.5 hours.
yeah, it was 2.5.
No, it was like 2:14 was what it was.
Okay. Next theory, General Hux will end up being the big baddie of the movie.
This article was written long before a lot of these people were like confirmed to be other things. So I mean,
What do you mean?
well, like this was written in April, and then they've come out and shown Palpatine afterwards. Hux isn't
Yeah, well, that
Palpatine.
doesn't mean that Palpatine is the big bad.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we've been actively hoping that he's not on here because that would be kind of dumb
Yeah.
to pull him out of the pocket out of nowhere and be like, "Oh, just kidding, he's been here the whole time. This story hasn't been about him or anything related to him in any way, but now it is."
Yeah. I would like to see that. I mean, Hux is an interesting character, and I would like to see him develop as a villain a little bit more.
Huh. Well, apparently I was less right. 235 is what Google's telling us, but
yeah. I'm trying to find the list that actually had them all listed out, all their runtimes.
yeah, that's what I had looked at.
Yeah, this is a theory that is now totally debunked. Richard E. Grant will play Grand Admiral Thrawn. We know he's playing General Pride.
Yeah.
Now.
See, and again, but even that though, I'm just like,
Yes.
that would be so out of, like, no, you can't just toss in a fan favorite
favorites,
character that already has history in the universe in the current canon out of nowhere in Episode 9. Like, so many times when I'm listening to these sort of things, I get this feeling where I'm just like, I feel like there are a lot of people for whom the language of film and storytelling is a second or even third language that they don't speak very well. And so I feel like I'm an English speaker talking to someone who barely speaks English and trying to be like, no, that is not how English works. Like, no, that's not what that means. It's like the people getting upset about the kid at the end of Last Jedi. And it's like, oh, this is just going to be about him from now on. It's like, no, what?
Yeah,
Have
where
you
did you
seen
get
a
that?
movie?
Yeah.
Like,
So, here's another theory that I'm not reading this theory. I'm not sure the person writing this article has actually seen a Star Wars movie. Snoke's other apprentice will turn up.
oh, but
Yeah, what's
So,
the deal with this?
Kylo Ren was only one of the apprentices he was training, and one of the others will turn up to avenge his death in Episode 9. Always two there are. That is not what the rule of two means.
also, they're not Sith.
Right, but like, that's not what the rule of two is. The rule of two is always two there are, a master and an apprentice. Not,
Which was killed, the master or the apprentice?
yes, but it does not. It very
Does not mean that there's
definitely
always
does
two
not mean
apprentices.
there are always two apprentices. It definitely does not mean that. Oh my goodness.
Well, and a lot of this stuff, too, I'm sitting here like, I want you to picture, if you've seen Avatar The Last Airbender, which I apologize for all the spoilers if you haven't, but seriously, that's on you. Go watch that. It's amazing.
It really is.
But it's just like, picture a version of Avatar The Last Airbender where they introduced the Fire Lord sooner. Like, we actually saw him on screen in Season 2, and
Yeah.
at the end of Season 2, Zuko straight up killed him and took his place. That's the point we got to. And then in Season 3, all of a sudden it was like, oh, but wait, there's an even bigger Fire Lord that we haven't mentioned in 2 seasons.
Or the Fire Lord had an even bigger son that he hated and exiled.
That we haven't seen. And it's just like all of this.
Yeah.
It's like, that's basically what people are trying to do with this movie. They're going, well, but I'm familiar with that. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're familiar with the character. It doesn't matter if you're familiar with Palpatine and all that. Storytelling-wise, those would be atrocious decisions. That's not how storytelling works.
Likelihood of that theory? Possible.
They consider that more likely than Kylo Ren being redeemed.
This rumor
Wow.
seems to come from a souvenir issue of Star Wars Insider magazine, an official Lucasfilm publication, which mentioned that Snoke trained Kylo Ren and at least one other apprentice. Right, like the Knights of Ren that were collectively like a group of baddies that I guess technically in a way could be Snoke's apprentices, but clearly not.
Yeah.
I think your Zuko Fire Lord analogy is accurate.
Yeah.
Oh boy. The Millennium Falcon will die. How's that for a theory?
I rate that one improbable, personally.
I can see it going either way. I think it's 50-50.
I don't think so.
I feel like they got to kill some characters in it, so I could see the Falcon being one of them, but...
Yeah.
It could, but also it makes sense for living organic characters to be killed off because, you know, Carrie Fisher gets old and dies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, sorry, that's kind of the way the world works. You will grow old and die someday. Not so for inanimate objects. I think they will keep the Falcon around.
But that's the thing, is characters need to not just be, you know, grow old. There's like, someone's gonna, I would think at least, that someone ought to die. C-3PO seems to be a leading candidate right now.
Correct.
Which I think because they're leaning on that so heavily in the trailers, it's probably not going to happen. He'll be fine. Is my personal opinion, but
no, I think they'll keep
R2's
the
gonna
Falcon
get in there at the last minute and take his place. I hope not. Actually, that sounds really dumb.
I wouldn't mind seeing R2 make a noble sacrifice, though.
I can see that.
Like, but on his own.
Yeah,
Not
as a no. I'm going to no, not you, Natasha. I'm going to jump down there. No, not you, Clint. I'm going to jump down there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this depends more on their out of movie plans for the rest of the universe. So this is the last of the Skywalker saga, but that doesn't in any way mean this is the last we're going to see of Rey, Finn, and Poe. Rey is kind of the new.
Well, I mean, it's the last we're going to see of Finn because Disney's going to have him executed in a couple of months. But.
Yeah, yeah, he'll have an accident.
Yeah,
pray for Finn.
It's a new hashtag. But like, so you have a brand new actor playing Chewie in Junus, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna have Chewie, you have to have him in the Falcon, right? Yeah. So if they plan on continuing to do movies post Rise of Skywalker in the timeline, he's going to be involved. You're going to have the Falcon involved.
Maybe. I can see the Falcon and Chewie riding off into the sunset, so to speak, in Episode 9, and just like, hey, they went to, Chewie went to live out his days in the ship he loved, that was his buddy's ship, and he was never heard from again, kind of a thing. Just, I don't know.
But again, he's kind of attached to Rey, and so I feel like he's gonna
maybe, but Rey. This is gonna get into kind of what we think will happen. But if Rey starts like a new Jedi temple or something like that, she's got to be relatively committed to that spot.
Yeah,
and I don't think Chewie wants to just hang out, in his RV near the Jedi temple. You know what I mean? Like, I think he would want to go off. And again, where this is supposed to wrap up the series of all of these original characters and whatever, I can see them saying, and Chewie gets his happy ending. Here you go, Chewie, take the Falcon and it's yours, and he goes and lives a long, happy Wookiee life. Yeah,
your pet human died, but you'll live on.
Yeah, you'll find another human. It's fine.
Yeah, there's always more humans in space.
So that's what I think.
I still think it's a toss-up.
Yeah,
I could see them going for the Chewie Sucker Punch death, but I don't think it's a high probability with them killing off all the rest of the original cast. I suspect Chewie and Lando will both
Chewie and Lando in the Falcon. Yeah.
I think Chewie and Lando are going to go have a "it pays to not be one of the main characters" party. Like, yeah, we got slighted for 30 years, but at least we survived.
Yep.
Yeah, main team part-timers. But now Chewie was kind of a full-timer on the main A-team.
Chewie doesn't get a medal.
You're right.
He doesn't even count.
Yeah.
But he's around a lot more often than Lando is.
That's true. Which makes it all the more horrendous that he got neglected that way.
That's true.
That's true.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is his?
You know what?
Lando got
Actually,
made a general, and Chewie is nothing.
That is a movie that I would sign up for. If they want to give me an anthology movie that takes place after Rise of Skywalker and is Lando and Chewie palling around in the Millennium Falcon having
I
some
would
sort of
watch
adventure,
the crap out of that movie.
I'm on board.
Old suave Lando, like hitting it up
I
in a
doubt they'd be
casino
able
or
to get
something.
that out of Billy D. Williams at
No.
this point. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
would
wouldn't
be
be
on, I'd be
movies,
on
it would
board
be-
for it.
It would be
That would
comic
be
books
awesome.
or books.
That's a fun storyline to think about. Oh boy. All right, next theory. We ready? Darth Vader coming back as a Force ghost. Anakin coming back.
Yeah, there's a lot of people going on about how that has to happen, and I'm like,
I don't think it has to happen. There are the rumors that Hayden Christensen is involved in some way, something like that. I don't think or anybody has officially come out and said
no,
he's
they
in it.
haven't.
no, it's
officially
just
said
been.
anything.
I've
But-
seen a lot of articles going like, no, here's why that is not only probable but necessary, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Like I get the main thing is that if we're setting this up as the conclusion to a 9-part series, well, what the prequels did with the original trilogy is suddenly turned this all into the saga of Darth Vader. So not having Darth Vader in here at all would be odd, but at the same time, just tacking in Vader in the last movie doesn't really complete that to my mind.
Well, but even then, I think there's more reason for him to be in the movie than there is for Palpatine, because I mean, you have Kylo
worshiping,
all over the
yeah.
place.
Yeah.
So
And that's how I think, so first off, let me say, I am in full agreement with Chris. I do not think it's necessary
Yeah, it's not
by any
necessary.
stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination. I also don't necessarily think that it's even likely that he'll be in there. If
I
he
feel like
does
it's-
come in, it's going to be Force Ghost
yes,
Vader going, Kylo Ren, or Ben, what the crap is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Look, you are worshiping something that, that I disavowed. That is not the way to find what you're looking for. Snap out of it, kid.
Yeah.
And that will, he'll get his butt chewed out by Grandpa.
I mean, I feel it's somewhat likely. I wouldn't be surprised if it does or doesn't happen, though.
I don't know.
Because that's the thing, is you also have plenty of opportunity. Because you could do a Hayden Christensen Vader, right? You could do even like the same timeline of Obi-Wan. You could have them make little Force Ghost cameos. Because those people are around. I mean,
Well, and I'm just like, I would not be surprised if we get into episode 9 and there's just like one majorly large Force vision, a la what Rey had in Force Awakens. But,
Where it's a ton of things
yeah,
all at
but
once.
maybe a bit more lucid than that one was,
Yeah.
but just a big, dramatic one that is not like, hollow screen
yeah.
Force Ghost, but it's just like we're actually
Okay,
seeing
where
visions.
she sees like Anakin in the past.
And we're
becoming
seeing
Vader or
Anakin, we're
something
seeing
like that.
Obi-Wan, we're seeing
Okay.
Palpatine or anything. I would not be surprised if all
I
of
could
these
see that.
major connections is just one vision.
That
That maybe
could be
even a
interesting.
shared vision between her and Kylo or something.
Yeah.
Or just Kylo.
Well, and especially you think back to Force Awakens, the trailers. Many of those shots in the trailers were from that single Force vision.
Yeah.
And they just cut the.
well, because that's
the
not actually
transitions,
part of
yeah,
the
the
plot, but
transitions.
it's super dramatic. It's almost made for trailers. Like,
Yeah.
But that's the only problem being that it's kind of misleading.
Yeah.
But they've given us enough stuff in these trailers that are obviously not part of that sort of
Right.
thing that I feel like, we're not being too heavily misleading.
Oh, all right. We ready for a groan? 3, 2, 1. Rey actually does have important parents. Stop it. Stop it already. All of you listeners, be better than that. Please. For heaven's sakes, at least be adequate. Drop this one.
See, and this is one that people are really contesting. I would be interested in how many of you listeners are on what side of the argument.
How many are on the wrong side and how
Yeah.
many are on the right side?
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
You can go ahead and message me on Twitter if you're afraid of the backlash from these guys. I just want to know. I don't.
But really, though, like, this is one
I
of
won't
the things, even though the rest of the movie may or may not be all that great, but like Ratatouille's final message, that a great chef can come from anywhere. Not necessarily that everyone is a great chef,
Yes.
but that a great chef could rise from any
Anyone has the
upbringing,
potential to become that.
And
yes.
I love that message in Ratatouille. It's a great message. It's like, you do have the potential to be something more than what you are. And that has been Star Wars' message all along, right? Is that Luke, a farm boy forgotten on the backwater of the galaxy, can rise to be something great.
Yep.
And Rey is like the ultra embodiment of, you are a nobody, but look at the great things that you are doing. You are taking what you can. You're doing what you can with what you have to make the galaxy a better place.
Well, and the juxtaposition with Kylo Ren, that it's
Right.
like he is in every
He's
way
everybody.
somebody,
Yeah.
and he is doing horrible things.
Right.
Like that, it's what you choose to do. It's not where you come
Exactly. And so to make Rey, and we've said this, I don't even know how many times on this podcast, to make Rey a somebody totally undercuts that. It's like, no, the only people that get to do something are the somebodies.
from. Sorry,
Everybody else is just...
Are you a blue blood? Are you an aristocrat? Then you don't matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's total garbage.
It's like,
And
this is America, people.
Because, I mean, I'm a nobody. I love the idea that maybe I can delude myself into thinking that I can make,
And it's
the
like,
world a
that's
better
not
place.
just the message
you
of
know?
Star Wars. That's basically the message of every highly popular film franchise that has a quote-unquote Mary Sue,
Well, and heroes
audience
in general,
empowerment
you look
main
at,
character.
You look at The
yeah.
Hobbit with Bilbo. Bilbo's
Yeah.
a nobody. I mean, he's wealthy for a Hobbit, but he's not really heroic.
Well, and I
in
mean,
any
when you
way,
set him
you
next
know.
to Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli and all
Yeah,
that,
he's
it's
a
like, yeah,
nobody.
he's
And
just
yet he
him
does
and
all these
Frodo. They're
things,
just
you know.
these little guys out of nowhere.
You know, and that's fantastic, and it would be a travesty to lose that message.
yeah. Well, and all of them too. It's like anything. Like Harry Potter is just the kid of some people. Like it's not like
Yeah.
he's not royalty or anyone. Neo is just a guy, just Thomas Anderson, and he just happens to be the one, not because of who his parents were, not because of some grand plan by
Yeah.
anyone. It's like, yeah, there were grand plans related to the one, but they didn't pick Neo as the one.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's common throughout, like
Yep.
throughout all sorts
So
of fiction.
please, fans, be better than that. Drop that one. If you keep all the rest, drop that fan theory. Rey killed her parents.
What?
What?
So that's like bad seed level murder hobo child, because she's like what, like 8 probably.
Well, unless she just did it the other day and has blocked it out. Yeah, that's
But
that's pretty
so-
dumb. Either way, she's blocked it out, and that's just no,
Yeah.
that's hackneyed storytelling.
Yeah.
That's-
So when Kylo told Rey about her parents in The Last Jedi, he said they're dead in the Jakku Desert. According to one Reddit poster, and that's how you know this theory's good, they died in the ship that little Rey watched leaving in the flashbacks, and her dark side anger and sadness helped to pull it back down to the ground. She repressed it, as Chris called. Kylo wormed it out of her, and the resurfacing tragedy will be a big part of her battle to stay in the light. Likelihood? Likely. Den of Geek, you suck.
oh my word!
Yeah, they're just trying to make people angry to get clicks.
yeah,
Okay.
probably.
This one is plausible for a few reasons. Firstly, it adds weight to the controversial parentage reveal in The Last Jedi, giving Rey's backstory a lot more heft without contradicting the idea that she didn't have a famous mom and dad. Also, making Rey responsible for something so awful adds a lot of interesting shade to her character, blurring the light side dark side divide and playing into the whole balance thing with wherever Kylo is heading next.
It really doesn't.
But I don't know if they've ever met a human, but humans don't work that way, where they literally commit murder and then it's so horrible and tragic they block it out and then lead a really pretty blameless and benevolent life ever after.
Even if you are
Like-
somehow managing to repress things, which is a branch of neuroscience that is highly debated, whether or not people are even capable of doing that to that degree at all. Even beyond that, it still exhibits itself in your behavior, in your interactions with other people, like the
Right.
trauma and the basically the behavioral, like the psychoses that need to be part of your head for you to do something like that. They're gonna exhibit themselves whether or not you're repressing a specific incident or not.
Yeah, and it's not to mention, she's a little girl. Generally speaking, little kids that are 8 years old and younger, generally speaking, are not horrible monsters to the point of murder. Even when they're angry.
Yeah.
Like little kids, because she's 6 to 8, somewhere in there, maybe 9 at the ceiling in that vision,
Yeah.
Generally speaking, they're not driven to murder even at their angriest. And again, if she were to have that kind of a temper where she can reach out to the dark side and kill her parents, you would see that kind of anger probably repeatedly throughout her life, and we get no evidence of that. By all respects, she's a very decent girl as far as Jakku Desert goes.
I'm also gonna toss out there just the awkwardness of some Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Rey is a Mary Sue who is way too overpowered and everything comes too easily to her. Also some Star Wars fans. what if Rey was pulling ships out of the sky at the age of 6? Like, really?
That Venn diagram, I think, is just a circle.
No, I think it's mostly separate groups, but it's still just like, what?
Yeah, it's so dumb. So that's all for that Den of Geek article. Thank heavens.
Yes.
Ugh.
Thank
Oh,
the
boy.
maker.
Yeah. So here we go. We have a Screen Rant article to go through now.
Yeah, that's going to be so much better.
Yeah, I know, right? Get ready. Get ready. Here it comes. Ugh. Whoops.
Any
Didn't
moment now.
accidentally click on links that took me to a different page. That would be helpful. Okay, Fountain getting destroyed. We talked about that. Kylo Ren redeems himself. Talked about that. Here's a theory. Hope not. The Knights of Ren are irrelevant. Which would be hilarious. That they're mentioned in every movie as this ominous thing, and then in episode 9 it's, yeah, no. Like, we're just not going to talk about them. That would be hilarious. I hope not. I hope we get to see them.
I do think it would be awkward, but it could be funny.
We have seen like photos and bits in the trailers, so they're
But
going
we
to be.
saw photos for episode 7, and then it was literally like 3 seconds in the vision, and that was that.
But what we saw pre-episode 7 is exactly what we saw in episode 7. We've seen a lot of varied things this time.
Yeah. I know. I personally think we are going to see them more in action doing something, but it would be kind of hilarious in a disappointing way if they were just like, oh, here's the Knights of Ren, and they're like the new throne room guards who don't do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be funny. I don't think we need to say any more about that. The gang explores underwater ruins. That's not really like a theory so much as I think this will happen. Like,
well, as a plausible extrapolation of what we've been shown.
Yeah,
but,
maybe. So, but that's not really a theory, guys. Come on. Rey and Kylo Ren. Oh, so they become Reylo is the theory.
Oh yeah, Reylo's a
Reylo.
very prominent theory.
Yeah.
I personally think this one is unlikely. I could see them going for it, but I don't think that's where we're going to end up.
I am afraid that they're going to go for that. I don't think it makes... Well, I guess it depends on what Kylo Ren does. Where they left off in episode 8, I don't think Rey would stand for it. I think she'd be like, no, like Kelsey said when she was on her show, I'm not going to go out with you until you change.
Yes,
you know, like,
exactly.
You've got some growing up to do.
Well,
and
and
some
that's the thing
changes
too,
to
is he doesn't have
before
time
I'll
to
go
change
out
in
with
this movie.
Yeah.
Best case scenario I could see is a reformed, quote unquote, like imprisoned war criminal Kylo Ren has visits from Rey, who is trying to help him deal with his life imprisonment. Like, she is trying to be there for him but it's not an actual relationship. It's the potential beginning of one as he's going through some sort of real reformation.
See, and I hope it just stays sort of the tragic, like what could have been, like where, you know, for both of them, they're just like, you know, Kylo's like, well, if you would have just turned evil, we could have had a relationship. And she's like, well, if you would have just turned good, we could have had a relationship. Take that, you know.
I'm kind of
and
wanting Rey to
I'm
just
afraid...
have an entirely new romance with someone completely different.
She was giving eyes to Poe.
Ooh,
yeah, I could go for that. Well, because I just kind of like how, you know, the first episode had Rey and Finn kind of like, is this a thing? Is this not? We know he's clearly got a thing for her. Don't know if she reciprocates. Last Jedi's teasing people with just like, tell him... Yeah, tell him that. And just like, I love that moment. I think that is such a dick move, but in a great way. And like Steven giving us those presents, that kind of wonderful, wonderful dick move. But I would just, I just, part of me would be annoyed and just like, oh, why are you even doing this? But part of me would also be like, that's kind of hilarious if just like, third episode, Rey and Poe are kind of a thing now, and Finn and Rose aren't a thing. Finn and this Janna character or whoever, it's just like, Rey and Finn just keep swapping their love interest for every single episode, and I think that would be hilarious.
Funny. I am afraid, though, that they will try to force a Reylo.
Yes, and I think that would be way too, there's not...
I'm afraid, though, I'm real afraid that that's coming.
Now, if you took it over the whole arc of the series, I mean, it could still fit in like a romance movie timeline. Because like, there's always that point in the romance movies where the couple hate each other.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing: is the amount realistically for this to be any sort of healthy or understandable relationship, the amount of change Kylo Ren has to go through,
it's huge.
Is enormous. Like, it's not a one movie deal. From where we were left off, Which is why I'm like, I could see well, there's hope for something in the future at the end, but not a actual, like, we're smooching it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those visits are not conjugal. Like, that would be absurd.
It's a Disney movie. Of course they're not going to be conjugal.
We don't get conjugal visits in Star Wars movies for at least 6 years out before we start getting rated R stuff.
Oh, boy. Well, go listen to our Raylo episode for more thoughts on that.
Yes.
Here's another theory, which I think is probably pretty likely. Lando has a daughter, and that would be Naomi Aki's Jenna.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't want to fall into the, well, he's black and she's black, so clearly she's his daughter trap.
Yeah.
I would like it if they avoided it just for that, where it's like, hey, guess what? Black people can come from somewhere other than Lando. Although, on the other hand, I'd kind of like even if we're just going to go for it, let's go all the way for it. It turns out, Finn, totally Lando's kid, got kidnapped as a kid.
Wow, Lando's a bad dad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he just has kids all over the galaxy, and that particular planet got captured by the First Order. He didn't even know he had a kid there.
So this is like Napoleon or Genghis Khan littering the galaxy with their bastard children.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and it turns out, and so Finn and Jenna kind of have a thing until it turns out, wait a minute,
we're related. Never
we're related.
mind.
This is a
we
little
better
awkward.
not.
We're not going to go Game of Thrones
Ooh,
here.
an awkward twin thing for this trilogy.
Yeah!
I like it. Hey. All right, I'm in.
But seriously, though, no, black people don't all have to be related.
Yeah. Well, first off, I agree with you, and I hope also that she isn't. Again, like, there can be genetic diversity in the galaxy. That's okay. You know?
Yes.
You know? But with the whole, like, this is a new generation, I think they probably are going to
Well, and also
literally,
with them
this is the next generation.
pulling Lando into this episode when he hasn't been in the first two, it would be very easy and neat to just be like, and this is his daughter.
Yep.
That's where he's been. Like,
he shaped up and became a
or something, I don't know.
better
Or he washed up on her doorstep and she's been taking care of him after a really nasty bender. I don't know.
I feel like there's a little
That's a
bit...
movie I want to watch.
I don't think they were together. Like, Lando, I don't think Lando was fathering
They have not
the
been
child.
shown together at all. But
Well, but even also, like, she's definitely from a more less tech-heavy area.
sure, but Lando gets around.
She rides horses, she uses a bow and arrow, and Lando's still very much the lap of luxury type person.
Sure,
But, I mean, I'm not saying, the whole, like, he just fathered a child and then took off
yeah.
isn't possible, but...
Or that's just where he ended up, is on a really, he found the right woman, ended up on a backwater planet.
He met a good woman who made an honest man out of him, like this happened with all of us.
But she was never quite able to break him of his love of capes.
Well,
why would she?
Why would she break him of what drew her to him in the first
If
place?
anything, he probably engendered a love of capes in her.
Yes.
There we go.
Oh man,
It would be
what
very
kind of dumb question is that, Ross?
Sorry,
Honestly,
you're right.
narratively speaking, it would just be very neat to introduce them together, and I think that's the primary motivation behind, like,
it does make it the
there is
most
probability
likely
there. But I could also see them just being like, no, they're
this
just
one,
new characters.
this next theory, I think, is likely. Jedi Order is reformed. I think
in some
degree, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a third act thing. Rey is seen, this is the new school. We're going to do it right this time. We'll teach about failure and success. And all the lessons learned, and here we go. To what the school looks like, what degree it mirrors the old varies, but Jedi Order is reformed. I think that's probably 100%.
There will be force teaching led by Rey of some sort. Yeah,
that's like 105% gonna happen.
Yeah.
Rey's lineage matters. No, it doesn't. Enough of that, you dumb thing. And that's all for Screen Rant. Ooh.
All right. Oh, some other dumb theories that I've seen that are still floating around. Finn is going to turn out to be force sensitive and will have been this entire time. That is still something that people are kicking around. Like, I understood this one after Force Awakens, where I was like, at that point I was like, yeah, okay, maybe. Like, maybe that's what caused him to kind of wake up a bit at the beginning. I don't need more than I just saw my friends die and that's discomforting. And I'm all of a sudden not comfortable with my first time actually out. I just got told to slaughter a village. This is causing trouble for me. But it's like, okay, I could see that after Force Awakens. But when Last Jedi comes and goes without any even remote hint Like, there is nothing in The Last Jedi that is even vaguely sort of maybe pointing that direction. Right. It is just such an utter non-thing, and it's just too late to pull that out of your ass in Episode 9.
Yeah. Yeah, not gonna happen.
And I am surprised. It's like, I saw on Twitter, there's an author I follow who was like, all right, settle this for me. My husband and I are having an argument. And she had a Twitter poll on there. It was just like, is Finn Force sensitive or not? Ugh. And I went on there and I was like, well, obviously he's not. I clicked on that. Like 75-80% of people had voted that he obviously was.
Oh,
in that, and there was only like 10 people that had voted, but I was still just like, what?
Yeah. One of the dumbest things that was used as evidence for that was him wielding a lightsaber. I'm like, lightsabers are not Thor's hammer. It's not like you've got to have the Force or the lightsaber doesn't budge. Like
Han picked up the lightsaber in Episode 5 and cut up with a tauntaun with it.
General Grievous does not have the Force, and he uses 4 of them. You know, like
R2-D2 does not have the Force, and he carried Luke's lightsaber around and shot it out of his head with impressive accuracy.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, so it's like that. That's so stupid. It's such a dumb theory. So don't be dumb.
Now, Poe, on the other hand, obviously Jedi material.
Well, it looks like that. I mean,
being the best pilot.
I'm gonna laugh when this movie is just like, we're gonna screw with all y'all. Rose is a Jedi.
Oh my gosh.
She has the Force. I would laugh myself out of my seat.
Oh boy. Wow. Wow.
Woo. But also, obviously not.
Oh boy.
So what are some of our theories then as to we're gonna find in the movie?
Well, I have mentioned one of my my theories is that, all this stuff about Palpatine, all these rumors about Anakin, all of this, that's just going to be like one Force vision and done.
See, okay, that does kind of bring up a thing that I wanted to talk about. So, Palpatine, like Rey standing in front of Palpatine, that whole little like chair scene, not the spiky throne, but like when you see her over the Palpatine's shoulder looking at her. So, looking at the environment, it seems to be part of the same scene where we've seen Kylo walking away from his TIE fighter, igniting his lightsaber, where the ground is kind of blue and kind of like rocky, deserty, cracked type stuff, and there's like a lot of clouds around. So you look at the clouds and you think, well, that's vision. But there have been other things where you see both of them together. So it might be a shared vision.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder why...
I could see that being a shared vision, definitely. But
why is his TIE fighter there?
It's part of his vision.
Well, and the terrain doesn't... The initial terrain doesn't necessarily have to be a vision. Like, they can land somewhere and then things start appearing to them in that terrain. Like,
true.
That's what happened to Luke in Dagobah.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna hazard on a limb. This one I don't know is how likely it is, but I feel like this Force vision is not just gonna happen. The Force vision, the Endor sequence, like being at the Death Star wreckage, her and Kylo fighting on that wreckage in the storm, that's all gonna be our opening action beat.
Yeah,
like including the Force vision, all of that is gonna be out of the way within the first 10 minutes.
See, okay. Most of it, yes. And I'm thinking of the Last Jedi trailers as my argument to this, because we got all sorts of stuff about the that last fight on Crate.
Yes. Well, and that's the... I think I'm not saying we aren't getting, like... I'm not saying the trailers as a whole are all going to be in that first bit. I'm saying specifically Endor, or wherever that is, whichever, Yavin or Endor, wherever we're at, the Death Star wreckage, and the fight in the ocean there, of the two of them fighting, and probably these Force visions and whatever are going on. That is all our opening action bit.
Yes.
That is our rescuing Han from Jabba's palace, our Battle of Coruscant, all of that, and then it's done. Like all this, like I feel like a lot of people are approaching that going like, oh, clearly we're building up to the Death Star wreckage as a finale, and I'm like, I don't think so.
No,
I think that's our opener, and and then it's gonna be gone, and Palpatine is literally just going to be a bit presence in that opener, and then we're not gonna see him for the rest of the movie.
That would be awesome.
I hope. I mean, that might just be getting my hopes up.
I'm hoping and a little expecting, but probably more like 65-35 hope versus actual prediction here, that Palpatine is being overhyped as a red herring.
Yeah.
That he'll be there in some capacity to almost certainly tempt Kylo Ren to join me. I can teach you the secrets of the dark side. Blah blah. Your typical dark side temptation stuff. And then, I do not know. I'm split 50-50, like dead even on whether Kylo will be redeemed or not. And so either he'll listen to the temptings of Palpatine or he'll not,
I suspect.
But either way, I think,
I'll get into it in a moment.
Yeah.
I could easily see what Chris saying being true, that Palpatine is just there as a blip. And
pause real quick, just because I remembered a fan theory that I've heard several times that I keep forgetting to bring up. Palpatine, it's a Palpatine possession theory. That is not of Rey. It's of Darth Vader's mask that Kylo's been carrying around. That that conversation he's having is him actually talking to the spirit of Palpatine.
But that doesn't make any sense based on what we know about Sith ghosts, because they do get attached to objects. Like, that's a thing that's long established in canon, but it's something to do with them personally.
Right.
Palpatine would not.
Palpatine did give him the armor. That was Palpatine's design.
But you don't look at Darth Vader and go, "Oh, Palpatine, you did such a good job." You look at Darth Vader's armor and you go, "Holy crap, it's Darth Vader."
Yeah.
No, like that would be Darth Vader's spirit, Anakin's spirit attached to the armor.
Also, to just bring that into Episode 9 out of nowhere, like if they had some sort of just weird sound effects in the scenes where he's talking to that, even if it was just that kind of background rumble of just
the Force rumble
or something, to imply that there's something, but to just bring that out of nowhere and be like, "Oh, this was totally going on the whole time, and we didn't indicate it in any way." That's not how storytelling works.
Yeah.
I also laugh at how many of these people are sitting here like, "Oh, The Last Jedi's storytelling is so horrible, and here's why." Like, I've watched so many videos that are like, "Here is how good storytelling works," and I'll go, yeah, it is. That's why The Last Jedi is so great. And they'll be like, "And The Last Jedi doesn't do that," and I'm like, "Yes, it does. What movie did you watch?" And then meanwhile, you've got people tossing out these theories of, "Well, this is what was really going on in the background." And I'm like, that is not how and obviously it's not necessarily the same people, but I'm just like,
And another aside back to what we were talking about before, because I had two things. The planet that the Death Star wreckage is on.
Yeah. Endor.
Well, see, that's the thing, is I had heard somewhere that they had confirmed that it's not Endor's moon. It's a different moon surrounding Endor, but it's not the forest moon. I'm not sure.
It didn't look like a forest. That's fair.
Well, but see, the thing is, so if you have lots of space debris crashing down, you're going to have a lot of trees that have burned down and would be recovering, so they would be smaller.
I mean, 30 years later. No. Well, and it's also this sort of thing where it's like, rainforests grow alarmingly fast.
Yeah, they do.
There's a reason you don't hear people talking about saving the rainforest like they used to in the 90s. It's because in the interim, we discovered that rainforests grow back so quickly that it's actually threatening human developments in those areas, and they are having to hire loggers to recut down the rainforest because it's growing back so fast.
As a weird aside, I actually did hear some drama recently because farmers were cutting down stuff.
Oh yeah, they try and reignite it every now and then,
okay.
But that's why it's largely
here's
disappeared.
The thing. So as far as the theory goes, I was going to say I don't believe that anymore, because we've recently, with all these little 30-second trailers they've been releasing that all have titles, one was Duel, one was Hope or something like that. You go to the Star Wars YouTube channel, there's a bunch of them. One of them was a behind the scenes for Rise of Skywalker, and you see adult Warwick Davis reaching in a Ewok costume, reaching for an old looking Wicket head. So I mean,
it is. Well, and also, and maybe I'm the only one that notices this, but in Return of the Jedi, when they have the holoprojector there with the Death Star orbiting Endor, you look at Endor, it's 50-50 forest and ocean.
Yeah.
It's really squiggly lines everywhere. That whole thing is pocked with giant, inland seas and lakes and everything
and
like that.
And also, I mean, there is this weird thing where it's just because it's a forest moon doesn't mean every part of the land has to be forested.
Right.
This is a thing that can happen on planets, that they can in fact have multiple biomes and
so so thinking about the Great Lakes, the Great Lakes are enormous. It's like the ocean. When you're on the shores of the Great Lakes, you can't see the other side.
Yeah.
And but if you look at the size of the Great Lakes compared to the Earth, they're pretty teeny little puddles. You know what I mean? And Endor's oceans, that are even the ones that are all self-contained, are many times bigger than the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
So the Death Star or pieces of the Death Star could very comfortably sit in these and still get those raging huge
storms
and waves and things like that. I mean, because like Lake Michigan is crazy. It's not even the biggest Great Lake, and it gets waves in the wintertime taller than the lighthouses that are on the shore. So it ain't small. You know what I mean? And so you take a lake that's bigger than that. Like, you could easily have these huge waves like we see in the trailers.
Well, this for me too is just such a non-issue. I'm just like, I don't care where it's at. Like, it's Death Star wreckage, cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's Yavin, doesn't matter if it's Endor. Whatever. I mean, I will obviously be upset if they go to Yavin 4 and yes, the Emperor's spirit's here because this is where he died, and it's like, whoa, hold up. No. But I highly doubt that they will make that sort of mistake. This isn't The Mandalorian.
Oh, there it is. Speaking of The Mandalorian, those last 2 episodes
are totally going to tie in to Rise of everything's going to tie.
They were awesome, weren't they?
Oh my! No, I thought. Oh, sorry. I thought it's that's another fan theory that's been going around. The Mandalorian is totally setting up a reveal for Rise of Skywalker, and it's going to tie in and be important. No.
I'll admit I'm more in that camp.
Ross, no.
Don't be dumb, Ross.
Because I still there's no logical reason to bump Mandalorian out of the way unless there was something that ties in.
Aside from the fact that we don't want to release 2 things on the same day, I think that's perfectly logical.
But for a streaming service, it doesn't matter.
We talked about this already, Ross. That idea doesn't hold water at all.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't. It's Disney going, we would rather have you be excited about Mandalorian on Wednesday and then go be excited about Episode 9 on Thursday,
it's
Friday,
advertising
Saturday,
for Rise of
Sunday.
Skywalker.
Yeah.
Now, also, I want you to take this into account. We have 2 episodes before Rise of Skywalker comes out. We have 2 episodes of Mandalorian. Look at the pacing of this show so far. Look at how much they've given us. You really think they're going to fit in something that's actually going to be influential or tie in at all to Rise of Skywalker in 2 episodes?
Well, look at the terrible choices they've been making so far.
They've still got... But there's a difference between making terrible choices and completely flipping the style of storytelling.
It doesn't have to be like a major... the plot of The Mandalorian ties into the plot of Rise of Skywalker. It's more of like a MacGuffin could show up sort of thing.
Like what?
I don't know. I mean, it's like how Loki's scepter showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before
but that's not really
Age of
a
Ultron.
tie-in. That's a pointless cameo.
But it's something that you would want to see first, or they might want you to. This discussion continues to go on for about another 45 minutes, so I've decided to just kind of cut that out for entertainment value. Hopefully you don't all miss it. That was the gist of it. But back to the show.
Well, we're done with the episode. That was all the list that we had.
Well, we were going to talk about what we thought was coming, but...
We did a little bit of that already.
Yeah, we kind of did it sprinkling throughout.
I had more, but we can just drop it if we want.
No, you should. We did ours, or I did mine anyway.
Yeah,
so
go do yours.
Okay. Anyway, Ross's craziness aside, there are a couple things that I want to see from Rise of Skywalker, just mainly because there's certain story things that they've set up that I don't want ignored. I'm worried that they might just drop it and move on, but it would not be great storytelling. And those are primarily, one, that Rise of Skywalker, or Last Jedi set up that we've got this cyclical, generational thing going. You know, the parents, drunken, abusive parents tend to have children who become drunken, abusive parents, and so on and so forth. It's that kind of generational thing where Yoda trained Dooku and he fell to the dark side, and Obi-Wan trained Anakin and he fell to the dark side, and Luke trained trained Kylo Ren and he fell to the dark side. This keeps happening. And Luke has come to some realizations by the end of Last Jedi about moving on from that and keeping going and everything that Rey has not learned yet. Luke has learned things that Rey has not learned, and so we need to see, at the very least, a setup of Luke helping Rey understand where she's going in the future. Maybe so she can, hopefully so she can avoid the same mistakes, but at the very least, an acknowledgement that, hey, the future's not going to be bright and rosy just because you won, whatever happens with Kylo, it's not over. This is constantly going on, and you need to be diligent and watch out for that you don't make the same hubris mistakes that I made. Luke needs to bring that around because Rey has not come to a point where she's not just going to repeat the same mistakes he did. And then also is Kylo Ren's arc. This is one where with Kylo Ren's whole thing has been about killing the past, just let the past die, kill it if you have to, which is what he's trying to do with Luke, which is what he did with Snoke. It was like, Snoke is just the Emperor 2.0, he wants him to be Vader 2.0, and he kills Snoke and is just like, no, I'm done with that. Instead of killing the good guy here, I'm going to reach out to her and be like, hey, let's just do something different together. No more Jedi, no more Sith, no more of this nonsense. Let that all die, and we're going to do something different. And I'm going to be very disappointed if I pick up episode 9 and it's just like, oh, well, she didn't say yes, so never mind. Right back into our old Sith ways. And that's my main problem with the theory of just like, oh yeah, Palpatine's going to be tempting him to the dark side. It's just like, based on what I've seen, Palpatine shouldn't be that much of a temptation for Kylo Ren at this point. Like, Kylo Ren is all about letting the past die. Palpatine comes to him and is like, you can be me, and Kylo Ren should be going, I don't want to be you.
That would be a really interesting way for him to be both tempted by and not succumb to Palpatine, and like that could be his cameo, is that Palpatine's like, oh, I can teach you the ways of the Sith.
Well, and I could even more see it as Palpatine like berating him as just like, you're trying something new and that's not going to work. You're never going to be as effective as I am. You're never going to pull anything out. I could see him taunting him. I really doubt it's going to be a temptation.
That would be
Let me show you the ways of the Force. And those are the main threads that I don't want to see lost. Is that Rey needs to learn, because she has done some of that, but she needs to learn what Luke learned so that she can grow, and we need a reason to believe that things are going to be different, or that we're prepared for when it happens again in some fashion. It's like, because that does happen. People can break these generational loops and be better than the people that came before them. It's almost like that's what Last Jedi was about. We are what they move beyond, but we need to show her moving beyond that, which she has not done yet, in my opinion, at the end of Last Jedi. So those are the main things I want to see acknowledged and taken into account, instead of just steamrolled by, okay, back to normal now.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. I mean, we've said this before too. I mean, 9 is gonna color 7 and 8 one way or the other. It's gonna influence them. So it'll be interesting to see if it raises or lowers the sequels.
Well, and I think having a resolution will provide a lot of closure for a lot of people, where it's like, oh, I see where this was going now. Like, because there's an uncanny amount. I've gotten some answers on our survey right now already that I've been looking over, and I'm just like, there's like 3 or 4 things you said here that you're saying like the sequels have just gone off and done blah 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 blah, and I'm like, you're just ignoring, like, you are talking as though you've already seen episode 9. Like, there's so many people that their criticisms of The Last Jedi are couched in their assumptions about episode 9. Like, they've just decided they already know what's happening here, and they're judging it based on that. Like, and some of these are people that I'm like, you should really know better.
And it's tough. It's tough to rein yourself in like that. I mean, I find myself doing some of the same things, where it's like, oh, well, I think this is going to happen, and that translates in my brain to, this will happen.
Yep.
Therefore,
well, and that's all my fears about Palpatine coming back. I'm just like, that's a bad idea. That's horrible. But I'm like, I don't know what they're doing with it yet. And I can think of 1 or 2 things that wouldn't be horrible.
Which is why I'm so excited for the end of December, when we will know what happened and we can make our final calls. Well, our first final calls.
Well,
8 more days after this episode. So.
It'll be so good.
It'll be those that hate The Last Jedi will still hate Rise of Skywalker.
Not necessarily. I'm fully prepared to change my mind about Last Jedi but episode 9...
You're not change your mind about Last Jedi before that, though.
No, but I mean, there are so many people that just because they hated Last Jedi have already decided they're going to hate Rise of Skywalker.
That's true.
It's going to be those people that are still just as loud as they have been for Last Jedi.
And I hope not, honestly, because I think back to the stories we've shared on this podcast before of people back in the 80s writing in hate mail to George Lucas. How dare you let Han Solo end in carbonite? And, why did Leia kiss him? She's clearly a better match for Luke. And, Vader can't be his real father. And it's like, well, cool your jets a minute. Let him finish talking. Let him finish telling his story. And then we look back and we go, holy fetching cow. That is an incredible episode.
Well, and even then, some of those things where it's like, okay, we got Return of the Jedi, and it's pretty clear that he did just change plans midway on Luke and Leia. We know that that's a thing now, so there's going to be some of that. I'm sure. But.
So and that's why I I think for the most part, I've successfully convinced myself to hold my judgment in reserve until 9 comes out, and then I can be like, okay, how does that affect 8? How does it color it? What comes over from episode 8 that makes 9 good, that I liked, whatever, and we'll see. And you guys will all get to hear about that, because we will definitely be doing a post-episode 9 episode. So, yeah, it'll be good. But is that it? Are we spent?
I can't think of any other things. They might have been kicked out of my head by the argument.
Yeah, I know, right? I had other questions from the trailer, but not really theories. The Kylo and Rey destroying the Vader effigy.
Yeah.
Are they doing that on purpose or not? Are
It
they
didn't
working
look
together?
like it. That looked like a fighting, and our swings took us this way. And
Yeah, I've seen both, because apparently Rey is also holding a dagger, a Sith dagger, in her other hand. I don't know. So, I've seen most people think they're doing it together, at least from what I've read.
Yeah,
That's what I got,
rewatched it today, and it does look like they're both swinging lightsabers kind of in the same arc, like having cut through it, and you see kind of both their hands going.
Yeah, they definitely hit at the same
you know.
time, but it could also just be a really hard parry.
Yeah.
You know? So
that's what I got.
It could
a
be
hard
either.
parry that accidentally smashes the little podium or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like a
Okay,
hard...
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I was just making sure I understood you right.
I was gonna say,
You
like,
did sound dubious.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. No, but maybe. I don't
think
know,
that
though. It feels more like it was a combined effort, though.
And I think that, though, because Kylo kind of looks like he's kind of lost his footing. It's not really a good footing for him to attack the pillar. It looks like he's been knocked a little bit off
Like
balance.
he's stumbling, and that's why
Yeah.
Perry went wide.
Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch it and look for that.
Because his stance is just a little funny.
And you would know.
I would know.
Yes.
You are. I will defer to your opinion on that.
But I mean, again, it could be just the way he happened to stand and no one corrected him on it. Who knows?
Yeah, could be. Alrighty. Well, be sure to follow us on Twitter @MoreCivilized and join our Facebook group, A More Civilized Podcast. There's always a healthy portion of memes happening there that always make me laugh. And then you can find out more. We'll have more information there about any future events or contests we do. So yeah, you definitely want to be following us on social media.
Where you can find such gems as this week's favorite listener, who is Andrew Tanner Porter.
Hey!
Who posts, sorry to post again so soon, which is fine, really, honestly. Everyone can post as often as they want.
Yeah,
That's
I
not even a
told
thing.
him never apologize for posting about Star Wars in this group ever.
For real. especially when it's awesome questions like he had. He goes on to say, but I have a question that my wife brought up. What is the reason that Jedi are buried after death, and what causes a Jedi
Burned
to...
after death.
Oh, I'm sorry, burned. That's right, because they're not buried, they're burned. Wow, it's later. What is the reason that Jedi are burned after death, and what causes a Jedi to dissipate like Obi-Wan or Yoda? And obviously this is a fantastic question, which we are going to have to look into a little more. We have some quick thoughts, but we're going to make an episode of.
Yep.
So, thank you, Andrew, for that idea.
And thank you for the episode content.
Exactly.
Coming in January.
For real. And you can speak with me on Twitter @RandomPaladin.
Oh,
I
almost
did it.
You can also find me on Twitter @itinerantBaxter. And let us know on Twitter and on Facebook in the Facebook group. I have posted a link to a Google survey where I'm asking for any complaints you have about The Last Jedi. I also have a window there for any things you like about The Last Jedi that we haven't brought up here. Mainly, I'm just looking for all the stuff that we haven't addressed. Like, if there's a complaint you have that none of us seem to have and you want it addressed, I'd like to hear it. If there's something you like about it that we haven't addressed and you want us to mention it, great, let me know. So far, half of the results I have are purely people disliking it, and half of them are purely people only posting things I like about it. So that's been fun.
That's interesting. I did not expect that.
Yeah,
Although
me neither.
I don't know why I probably should have expected that, but
Well, I'd say it's funny because I only added that last box as an afterthought, where I was just like, oh, I guess I should. Yeah, we could get both sides. Like, people could like things about this that I haven't thought of, obviously. So sure, put that on there. And then half my results have been that.
But the importance of following our social media is so you can get important info, like where we are having our little viewing party, which is happening in 2 days from now.
Yes.
So that
So-
Google Doc will close tomorrow night, the 12th of December.
Yep.
And then the next night, the 13th of December, Friday the 13th.
we're going to record a couple of episodes and then go hang out with you guys.
Yes.
So if you want
the
to
recording
know,
will not be publicly available.
Yes.
That's true.
Until it comes online normally.
The next week.
Yes.
So, yeah. So come hang out with us. Look at our social media, because that's where the information is posted about this party. So
Yeah, the Cliff Notes are 6 p.m., Springville, Utah.
be there or be a
Yeah.
Mandalorian.
The specific address will be
I don't think
posted on
that's going to
Facebook.
deter
Yeah,
people.
shoot. I mean, shoot. Be there or be,
Be a
Hutling.
scruffy-looking nerf herder.
Yeah. Who's scruffy looking? Me with this untrimmed beard. Ugh.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right.
And again, may the Force be with you.
Always.
I'm Anna Graves, and thank you for listening to a more civilized podcast.
I feel like we need to hug it out after that.
I don't know if I...
That's been real busy.
That's all good.
So we can cut that out.
Clap back in.
Yeah.
Clap in. Continue.
Don't say it.
Nope. Nope. Ross will just have to cut it. Nope.
Were you trying to sneeze?
Nope.
That's what it looked like.
I was
That's
just
what I thought
laughing.
he was doing.
I was just laughing. So, anyway.
I'm trying to think.
It's not appropriate. I'm not saying it. Anyway.
What did
That's
you,
what
what
I
did you
wanted you to
say?
say it. What did I say?
What did you say that prompted him?
Nothing. Nope.
How many times can I make that joke on this show?
Depends on how many times Ross lets you.
I was going to say, yeah, fewer and fewer every time.
Alrighty. You left in one. I listened to it yesterday.
Oh,
It was in the outro, but, where it belongs.
yeah.
We should do an episode sometime that's like 5 minutes long and then just like
An hour and a half
of
outro. Oh, alright.
We've had enough.
No, I think we
beginning
should, though,
already.
yeah. Moment of silence for Mr. R-Star.
Well, when I was a child, I was hoping you guys would react to that. I could just try and keep talking because we don't actually need a moment
That was a
of
good moment of
silence.
silence.
That was, yeah. We were being respectful, Ross.
What do you mean? All of us were being silent. I didn't do anything.
I'm going home.
Alright. You ready?
Good job.
Yeah, thanks.
Going home and I'm taking the podcast with me.
He really could.
He has.
That's true.
Literally what we're doing right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Hour 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love you guys. That's fantastic.